Hello everyone, my name is Charlie Lanchester and I'm the Chair of the Australian Fund Manager Awards Foundation. 2020 has been a very unusual year and I hope that everyone in our community has stayed safe and well and got through these challenging times okay. Our industry has been relatively lucky and we have been able to function well in an online lockdown environment. However, our local charities, the Sydney Children's Hospital and Odyssey House New South Wales, have been hit hard and need our support more than ever to continue the life-saving work they do each day. Sadly, we are not all meeting up at the Ivy this year to celebrate the successes of some of our colleagues. We have cancelled the formal event and instead we are excited to launch today the great charity Calcutta Challenge. This challenge has two components. The first is the Golden Bull event, open to leading fund managers and our previous Calcutta supporters, led by our event sponsor Evans & Partners. I am delighted to announce that last year's winner of the main Calcutta was Steve Bruce from Perennial Value. An up-and-coming e-commerce business called Redbubble was the winning entry that recovered beautifully after an early stumble. Steve and Perennial have been incredibly generous in donating back to the charities the $85,000 winnings. The second component is designed to give everyone the chance to be a winner and make a name for themselves as the 2020 Golden Calf Award winner. This award is normally presented to the Emerging Fund Manager of the Year. Over the next 2 weeks, you will have the opportunity to select your number one stock pick and compete for the title of the 2020 Golden Calf, whilst at the same time raising much needed funds for our charities. The entry fee is $1,000, with the winner taking 50% of the pot, the balance going to our charities. Team up with a colleague or go it alone for all the glory. Let's try and get the whole industry behind this competition. You are about to hear from Adam Woods from Evans & Partners as to what the leading fund managers have selected in the Golden Bull Charity Calcutta Challenge this year. Before I go, I would like to say a big thank you to Shaw & Partners, who have already made a massive difference to our selected charities with their annual markets fundraising day. Thanks to all of you who have supported them on that day. Thanks also to our supporters, Evans & Partners, Refinitiv and Livewire, for their support. And finally to you for taking up the challenge. Now let's hear a few words from our two charities and why your support is so important.
We invest in roads and we invest in bridges, but I think we need to invest in the human capital.
The Parents and Children's program here at Odyssey, New South Wales is unique in that we do take single mums, single dads, but also couples into the program. It's also the only Parents and Children's program in New South Wales that's within a therapeutic community. And so they're able to care for their children, take their children to school, help them with homework, do the cooking and cleaning and those sorts of things that anybody in the community would do with their children.
We are going to double the number of families that we can have. We've got a $4 million project on the table. It's one of our biggest capital works program we've ever done at Odyssey House. We're just at the DA phase right now, so we're quite keen on that.
Our Parents and Children program has operated for 20 years now, so it's well established with very good results. We've been very lucky to receive a large philanthropic donation, complemented by funding from the government, but we certainly need funding to make them like home and also to sustain them into the future.
The outcome for the child and the outcome for the parent is much better than the parent going away to seek their treatment by themselves. And watching these young people slowly start to become confident and assertive and cheeky is amazing. It's a really special thing to be able to give those kids and their parents that opportunity.
Putting the program together, what we're able to do is give the children their parents back and a family life.
Well, what a crazy year 2020 has been so far, and the stock market has been no exception. The ASX 200 fell 36% through February and March, only to then bounce 35% in the following couple of months. The wild ride was also experienced by our Calcutta selections, but in a ringing endorsement of active funds management, the average performance of the stocks selected returned 48% over the last 12 months, compared to the ASX 200, which has fallen 4%. So that's more than 50% outperformance as a group. You won't get those returns in an index fund, so you'll want to stay tuned to hear this year's selections. Now firstly, a recap on the Calcutta event that has just ended. Given the Spring Carnival is upon us, I thought it'd be appropriate to have a bit of a racing themed summary. And just like the Melbourne Cup, there was action throughout the race in what was probably the most volatile event we've ever staged. A field of 17 runners lined up at the barriers, with a good mix of value, growth and even shorts in the race. A short on Jumbo Interactive pinged out of the gates to lead the field comfortably as the field settled to go past the post for the first time. There was a bit of chopping and changing in the main pack, but it was all pretty civilised till the field approached the halfway point when an enormous hurdle named Coronavirus suddenly appeared on the track. Not all the runners made it over cleanly. Jumbo was soon joined in the lead by the only other two shorts in the field, Nearmap and Wisetack, and there was plenty of carnage behind them, with Red Bubble out the back staring at every other runner's rear end. But totally unexpected, the race then took on a completely different complexion. Silver Lake looked the winner. Mineral Resources then hit the front. Mesoblast was almost declared the winner before breaking down in the final furlong. But in the end, it was Red Bubble, with a last to first victory even the great Farlap would be proud of. Red Bubble's jockey Steve Bruce from Perennial knew he had a lap full of horse under him and timed his run to perfection. And I'm very happy to say he has generously donated the entire $85,000 winner's cheque back to raise much needed funds for these two great charities, Odyssey House and the Sydney Children's Hospital. Now for this year's selections from some of the most highly regarded, respected and experienced investors in the country. First up, we have the Wilson Asset Management team, who has selected Insurance Australia Group as their runner this year. LIC czar, Hall of Famer and Bill Shorten's best mate Jeff Wilson has built this firm into a $3.5 billion powerhouse, with all their LICs enjoying premiums to NTA others in the space could only dream about. The flagship WAM Capital portfolio has enjoyed almost 8% outperformance a year since inception 21 years ago. IG has been a laggard, falling from around $8 at the start of the year to below $5 now. Sure, there's risks around the closure of businesses on the back of the pandemic, but with a sound balance sheet, insurance premium growth and the recent appointment of a new CEO, the stock is ripe for recovery, particularly if we see any bounce in bond yields, which arguably can't get much lower. Perpetual's head of equities, Paul Scamvugaris, needs no introduction, and he's hoping Incitec Pivot can get him the title this year. Paul has done it all. He came through the ranks of Perpetual to become head of the dealing desk before managing long-short strategies at Elliston, both in Australia and in the UK. Paul rejoined Perpetual over a decade ago and has progressed to be their head of equities for over 5 years. IPL is a bold choice. The stock traded sideways for a decade before tipping over after COVID struck. But it is one of the few names not to recover meaningfully, and with fertiliser prices recovering globally on a cash yield of 8% and a PE of only 16 times, it's easy to see this name as the potential 2021 winner. The team at Wavestone, led by three of the most experienced and respected portfolio managers in the country, has selected NIB Holdings as their runner this year. The Wavestone team, which includes Hall of Famer Catherine Allfrey, Raz Boyan and Graham Burke, manages 3 separate strategies, and all of them have smashed their respective benchmarks over any time frame you want to take. No ups and downs here, pure alpha generation. NHF is a former market darling that has become a bit of a forgotten stock. It's one of the best managed businesses in a sector that looks ripe for consolidation and trades on undemanding multiples. It's easy to see NHF being taken out this year. If it does, it'll be hard to beat. The perennial value team, led by Steve Bruce, is looking to go back-to-back with Virgin Money UK after taking out last year's Calcutta with Redbubble. It was an inspired choice from the team, who are more known as value investors, with their flagship Australia fund having strongly outperformed their benchmark since inception 20 years ago. But they do have form in the small cap space. Simply check out Andrew Smith's unbelievable performance numbers, and you can see how the team managed to come up with a winner that returned almost 300%. However, they've returned to their core principles. VUK is certainly one for the value players out there. Its share price is down 55% from pre-COVID levels. It looks dirt cheap on paper, but this has been a turnaround story for as long as Perennial's been managing money. So I hope for their sake, this is its year. Regal Funds Management, led by Hall of Famer Phil King, has selected PointsBet as their runner this year. Regal's flagship Atlantic Absolute Return Fund has returned 27% a year since inception 16 years ago, whilst their suite of small and emerging companies funds are averaging almost 40% a year since inception. That's serious wealth generation. The Regal team like PointsBet because the US online sports betting market is really just in its infancy. It's experiencing massive growth. PointsBet's recent NBC partnership validates that opportunity. And with a market cap of just $2 billion versus DraftKings at $20 billion, there's huge scope for upside to the share price. The team at Firetrail Investments are hoping Matt Fist's selection of Linus can get the chocolates for them this year. Whilst the firm was only founded in 2018, the bulk of the Firetrail team worked together at Macquarie for over a decade, with their high conviction fund delivering almost 11% a year in its 12 years in operation, as well as winning multiple awards for their alternative products at the Hedge Fund Rocks Awards. Everyone in the industry knows Firetrail can pick a winner. Linus is the world's biggest rare earths producer outside of China, and with political tensions high, the US is looking for ways to reduce its dependence on China for rare earths, putting Linus in a sweet spot, particularly given the high barriers to entry to become a large producer. Linus also has form in this event, winning the race 2 years ago, so expect it to be prominent throughout the race. The new kid on the block, 1851 Capital, is hoping Eagers Automotive can rev past the field to take the title. When Chris Stott and Martin Hickson kicked the fund off in February this year, they clearly didn't anticipate their first 2 months in operation would see an almost 40% fall in the stock market. You really should have waited a couple of months, boys. But as expected for these highly regarded stock pickers, the fund has already outperformed the market by almost 10%. It hasn't even been going for 12 months. APE, the country's biggest automotive dealing group, is riding the COVID wave, which is seeing people avoid public transport, leading to new car and equipment sales. This is at the same time as new car sales were already at cyclical lows. The share price is already up 4-fold off its March lows, so it's a runner in form, but the 1851 team thinks this is just the start. Market legend and previous Calcutta winner Matt Williams has selected Mineral Resources as his runner. Matt needs no introduction to the investment community or to the Livewire audience. The former head of equities at Perpetual joined Daily Funds Management almost 5 years ago, and over that time his returns are almost double the benchmark. Matt rode Mineral Resources in last year's Calcutta and finished third, hit the lead a couple of times in the straight. With iron ore prices continuing to hold up and more global stimulus on the way, supporting iron ore prices, Min is likely to stay in upgrade mode for the next 12 months. Matt's hoping it's second year lucky for Min. The AFMA's own chairman, who you heard from earlier, BlackRock's Charlie Lanchester, will be hoping for a bit more luck this year than last. Charlie actually selected Redbubble as his runner last year, but Steve Bruce at Perennial had already claimed it, so Charlie had to look on from the sidelines as his first choice pick in the race swept to the front and won by a clear margin. Well, Charlie didn't muck around much this year. He got in and selected Redbubble as his runner in what would be an unbelievable repeat victory. Redbubble has seen sales surge since the pandemic outbreak, and let's be honest, the world can never have enough novelty t-shirts. With the environment for Redbubble not showing any signs of changing and trading on multiples well below its peers, RBL will be right in the thick of it when we get to the business end of the race. A man who needs no introduction, Hall of Fame inductee and legendary investor, Keir Nielsen has selected Australia's biggest gold producer Newcrest as his runner this year. Keir has stepped away from the day-to-day job of managing money, but that won't stop the field keeping a close eye on the most experienced investor in the field. Despite a booming gold price, Newcrest has lagged its global peers, and with the world's money printing presses running at full steam, the conditions for gold continue to look great. And if Newcrest plays some catch up to its peers, it will be hard to see this selection not take out the title. E&P is again thrilled to be sponsoring the 2021 Calcutta, which aligns with our focus on active funds management, high quality, bottom-up research and stock picking. This will be the 5th consecutive year E&P is sponsoring the Calcutta, and we're again purchasing a stock. The E&P selection this year has a few holes in it. Bega cheese. Our gun analyst, Phil Kimber, values Bega at $6.12, but there's plenty of catalyst to see that go higher. However, the drought is broken, previous acquisitions are now delivering, and with the 15% shareholder cap running out in August next year, Bega itself could be the subject of a takeover bid. There's a couple of other runners in the field who have chosen to remain anonymous, but make no mistake, these are some of the biggest names in the industry, and there is previous Calcutta winning form here. Mesoblast is lining up for its 3rd run at the Calcutta. Last year's owner was counting his cash 100 metres out from the post before the FDA stepped in and put an end to its run. If we can get a ruling go the other way this year, it could be one of the feel-good stories of the year. Westgold Resources is another selection from a noted stock picker. WGX is a West Australian gold miner with strong production ramp up and are over a recent capex hump. Small gold stocks have been a bit of a mixed bag in this competition over the past couple of run-ins. Silver Lake almost got the cash this year, so they can certainly feature at the pointy end of the field. Ampol was an entrant in this race last year under its previous name Caltex, and it was a volatile run with a failed takeover bid that saw the stock trade as high as $37 and as low as $18. With a new owner, a new company name, this legendary investor is back in Ampol to perform much better second time around. So you've heard what the experts have to say, and now it's your turn to try and show them up. We're officially launching a new initiative, the Great Charity Calcutta Challenge. It's your turn to make a selection of the stock you think will perform best over the next 12 months, claim bragging rights, and raise much needed funds for our great charities. Registrations are now open. What are you waiting for?